Deep beneath the ocean's surface, where sunlight dissolves into endless blue shadow, there exists a mind unlike anything we once believed possible. For decades, scientists thought intelligence belonged mostly to animals with large brains, social structures, or long evolutionary paths toward complexity: dolphins, primates, certain birds. But in the silence of the deep sea, something else was thinking. Something with no bones, no protective shell, no permanent home. Something that could disappear into a crack in the rock and yet solve problems that would challenge even some mammals. The octopus. And for a long time, we misunderstood it completely. Because when you look at an octopus, you do not see intelligence. You see softness. You see fluid motion. You see a creature that seems almost alien in its fragility, drifting through coral reefs or slipping between rocks like smoke in water. But beneath that quiet, shifting body lies a nervous system so strange, so distributed, and so complex that it challenges everything we thought we knew about how a brain should work. And now, new research is forcing us to confront an uncomfortable truth. We were not just underestimating octopuses. We were fundamentally wrong about them. In the cold depths of the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, octopuses live lives that are both solitary and intensely strategic. They do not form schools. They do not follow leaders. They do not rely on group protection. Every octopus is an independent intelligence, navigating a world filled with predators, limited shelter, and constant risk. And yet, they survive, not through strength, not through speed, but through something far more difficult to measure: decision-making, problem-solving, memory, and perhaps something even closer to curiosity. To understand why this matters, we must first understand what an octopus truly is. Unlike fish, it has no skeleton. Unlike mammals, it has no centralized brain controlling everything in a strict hierarchy. Instead, much of an octopus's nervous system is distributed throughout its body. Nearly 2/3 of its neurons are located not in its head, but in its arms. Each arm can explore, react, and even make simple decisions independently. In a sense, an octopus does not have one brain. It has 9. And this changes everything. Because when one arm reaches into a dark crevice searching for food, it is not simply obeying a command from above. It is processing information, testing surfaces, reacting to touch, almost thinking for itself. Meanwhile, the central brain coordinates an entirely different layer of awareness: watching, learning, adapting. It is as if multiple minds are sharing one body, communicating through a language we are only beginning to understand. For years, scientists underestimated this system. Early researchers assumed octopuses were instinct-driven creatures. Complex, yes, but not truly intelligent in the way mammals are. But then came the experiments that changed everything. In controlled environments, octopuses began to do something unexpected. They learned. Not just simple conditioning, but flexible problem-solving. They could open jars to reach food inside. Not by trial and error alone, but by observing patterns and adjusting their behavior. Some could remember solutions for months. Others could recognize individual humans, showing clear preference or avoidance based on past interactions. And in some cases, they even seemed to play. They would repeatedly release and retrieve objects, not for food, not for survival, but for no obvious reason other than interaction. A behavior that, in many species, is often linked to higher cognitive processing. But perhaps the most astonishing discoveries came from their behavior in the wild. In coral reefs, octopuses have been observed using tools. They carry coconut shells, not as food, but as portable armor. They stack them, arrange them, and transport them across the seabed for future use. This is not instinct. This is planning. In another case, researchers documented octopuses manipulating rocks to block the entrances of their dens, effectively building defensive structures against predators, a behavior that suggests foresight, preparation, and an understanding that the future is something that can be shaped. But intelligence in octopuses is not only about construction or problem solving. It is also about survival in one of the most dangerous environments on Earth, because the ocean is not forgiving. Every movement can attract attention. Every shadow can mean death. So octopuses develop something extraordinary, camouflage so advanced it borders on invisibility. They can change not only their color, but also the texture of their skin in milliseconds. They can become smooth like sand, rough like coral, or patterned like drifting algae. This transformation is controlled by thousands of pigment cells, called chromatophores, working in coordination with muscle layers and specialized reflectors beneath the skin. But what makes this truly remarkable is not the mechanism itself. It is the speed and precision with which it is used. An octopus does not just blend into its environment. It interprets it. It reads the surroundings like a living map and reconstructs its entire appearance to match it. This requires constant sensory input, rapid decision-making, and a level of environmental awareness that still puzzles scientists. Because camouflage at this level is not just biological. It is cognitive. And yet, despite all of this, octopuses remain largely solitary. They do not teach their young. They do not form communities. Each hatchling emerges into the world already equipped with instinct and potential, but no guidance. And still, somehow, they survive. This raises a deeper question that scientists continue to debate. If octopuses are so intelligent, why are they so isolated? Why does such advanced cognition evolve in a creature that spends its entire life alone? Some researchers suggest the answer lies in evolutionary pressure. In the deep sea, cooperation is rare. Competition is constant. And survival depends not on social learning, but on rapid adaptation. In such an environment, intelligence does not need to be shared. It only needs to work. But there is another layer to this mystery that science has only recently begun to explore. Octopus intelligence may not resemble ours at all. Human intelligence evolved in structured social systems. Language, culture, teaching, all built on communication between individuals. Octopuses evolved in silence. Their intelligence may be fundamentally different, less about sharing knowledge, more about immediate adaptation, a form of cognition that is flexible, decentralized, and constantly rewriting itself based on the moment. And if that is true, then we may not just be studying a smart animal. We may be studying an entirely different definition of intelligence itself. But even now, after decades of research, we are still left with unanswered questions. Because in the wild, octopuses occasionally behave in ways that defy even their known capabilities. They disappear from sealed tanks. They escape enclosures that were thought to be secure. They navigate complex mazes with almost unsettling efficiency. And sometimes, they seem to watch, not reactively, but deliberately. As if observing patterns beyond immediate survival. As if thinking ahead. And this is where science becomes uneasy, because intelligence, as we define it, is supposed to follow certain rules. But octopuses do not always follow rules. They bend them, or ignore them entirely. And somewhere in the depths, beyond human observation, there are still behaviors we have never witnessed. Still decisions being made in the darkness of the ocean floor. Still minds working in silence, shaped by an evolutionary path so different from our own that it may never fully be understood. Because the more we learn about octopuses, the more one idea becomes impossible to ignore. We did not just underestimate them. We may have misunderstood what intelligence can even be. And as new research continues to emerge, scientists are now asking a question that once seemed absurd. Not whether octopuses are smart, but whether we have been looking at intelligence all wrong. And the answer may be hidden somewhere in the deep, waiting, in the deepest parts of the ocean. Where pressure crushes steel and light cannot survive, intelligence does not always look like thought. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like disappearance. And sometimes It looks like a creature slipping through impossible spaces, as if the boundaries of physical reality were suggestions rather than limits. The octopus continues to challenge that boundary, not because it breaks the laws of nature, but because it seems to exploit them in ways we are only beginning to understand. One of the most unsettling discoveries in modern marine biology is how octopuses learn without instruction. In laboratory conditions, they are not simply reacting to stimuli. They are building internal models of cause and effect. When an octopus opens a container to access food, it is not just repeating a behavior. It is remembering the structure, predicting the outcome, and refining the method. And when faced with a new container, it does not start from zero. It adapts. This ability suggests something more than intelligence in the traditional sense. It suggests abstraction, a mental capacity to generalize experience and apply it to unfamiliar situations. Something once thought to be nearly exclusive to vertebrates with highly centralized brains. Yet here it is, emerging in a creature whose nervous system is distributed across its entire body. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of octopus cognition is not what it can do in controlled environments. It is what it does in the wild when no one is watching. Field researchers have documented octopuses engaging in what can only be described as exploration without immediate purpose. They leave their dens and travel across the seabed, inspecting objects, probing structures, interacting with shells, stones, and coral formations. Not always for food, not always for shelter. Sometimes, with no clear survival advantage at all. This behavior has led some scientists to a controversial idea, that octopuses may exhibit a form of curiosity, not the humankind driven by language or culture, but a raw, evolutionary curiosity embedded in the nervous system itself, a drive to interact with the unknown simply because it is unknown. And yet, despite these cognitive abilities, octopuses remain profoundly alien in their life cycle. They live fast, and they die young. Most species survive only a year or two, some a little longer. After a single reproductive event, many octopuses undergo a rapid biological decline. They stop eating. Their bodies deteriorate. Their behavior becomes erratic, and then they die. A phenomenon known as senescence, controlled by hormonal changes that effectively shut down the organism after reproduction. It is one of the most tragic paradoxes in nature. A creature capable of extraordinary intelligence, built for a life that ends almost immediately after passing on its genes. This raises a question that continues to puzzle evolutionary biologists. Why evolve such intelligence for such a short life? The answer may lie in the unpredictability of the ocean itself. In environments where survival depends on rapid problem-solving rather than long-term learning, intelligence must operate at full capacity from the very beginning. There is no childhood training period, no social education, only immediate awareness and adaptation. An octopus must be intelligent from the moment it hatches. Because the ocean does not wait for learning, it punishes hesitation. And yet, despite this extreme efficiency, octopuses continue to surprise scientists with behaviors that seem almost unnecessary for survival. Some individuals have been observed repeatedly interacting with objects in their environment in ways that resemble play. They manipulate floating debris, push shells with their arms, and release objects only to retrieve them again. In some cases, they even engage in what appears to be exploration of patterns, repeating movements that do not yield food or shelter, but seem to provide stimulation. This challenges one of the oldest assumptions in biology, that animal behavior is always driven by survival advantage. Because if octopuses are playing, then intelligence may not be purely functional. It may also be experiential. But the mystery deepens when we consider their ability to escape confinement. In laboratory settings, octopuses have repeatedly demonstrated escape behaviors that appear almost strategic. They locate weak points in enclosures. They wait for moments of reduced observation. They manipulate valves, lift lids, and squeeze through openings that seem physically impossible. And in some cases, they escape, travel across laboratory floors, enter adjacent tanks, feed, and return to their own enclosure, without leaving obvious traces. This is not random movement. It is planned behavior, and it suggests a level of environmental mapping that extends beyond immediate perception. A mental model of space, boundaries, and opportunity. But perhaps the most controversial idea in modern octopus research is not about intelligence. It is about consciousness. We do not yet know whether octopuses are conscious in the way mammals are. But we do know that their brains process information in a radically different way. Each arm contains neural networks capable of local decision-making. The central brain does not micromanage every movement. Instead, it coordinates outcomes. This creates a system where parts of the body can act semi-independently while still contributing to a unified behavior. Some scientists describe it as a distributed mind. Others hesitate to assign it any human-like comparison at all, because it forces us to reconsider what a unified self even means. If intelligence can be decentralized, if decision-making can occur simultaneously in multiple parts of a body, then where, exactly, does the self exist in an octopus? Is it in the central brain? Or is it spread across the entire organism? And if so, is it even correct to think of it as a single entity at all? These questions do not have answers yet, but they are reshaping neuroscience. In evolutionary terms, octopuses represent a completely separate experiment in intelligence. Their ancestors diverged from vertebrates over 500 million years ago. That means their intelligence did not evolve from the same blueprint as ours. It evolved independently, which makes every similarity between octopus cognition and human cognition even more remarkable, because it suggests that intelligence itself may not be a rare accident of evolution. It may be a recurring solution, one that nature discovers again and again under the right conditions. And still, there are mysteries that resist explanation. Octopuses sometimes disappear from long-term study sites without warning. Populations shift in unpredictable cycles. Some individuals display unique behavioral patterns that are never observed again, as if intelligence in the ocean is not static, but fluid, evolving in real time across generations we can barely observe. And perhaps the most unsettling realization of all is this: the more we study octopuses, the less certain we become about the limits of intelligence, because every discovery seems to widen the gap between what we expected and what actually exists. They are not simply smart animals. They are a different branch of cognitive evolution, one that developed in isolation, in silence, in darkness, and may be telling us something profound about intelligence itself. That it does not require language, it does not require society, and it does not require a brain shaped like ours. In the end, octopuses do not just challenge science. They challenge assumption. They force us to ask whether intelligence is a single path, or a vast ocean of possibilities we are only beginning to explore. And somewhere in that ocean, still beyond reach, there are minds moving through the dark, thinking in ways we may never fully translate. But slowly, we are beginning to understand one thing. We were not wrong because octopuses are simple. We were wrong because they are not like us. And intelligence, it turns out, was never meant to have just one shape.